I want to mention something when it comes to cocktails. I've done a few videos, but depending on cocktails or even how you like to enjoy your alcohol, you may wish to use ice. Ice, baby. Some cocktails benefit from ice, some do not. Some alcohols benefit from ice, and some do not. I think that ice makes a difference. Like the quality of that ice makes a difference. And there's also kind of a class factor. Clear ice looks really cool. It is as pure as it can be. And so it always fascinated me, like, how do you make clear ice? And I tried a bunch of different things. Like, supposedly if you boil water and then freeze it, it'll be clear. Supposedly ultra purified or filtered water will be clear. I never had much luck with any of that. So I did some reading and found out some things. One, ice does not freeze in a homogeneous fashion. It freezes differentially. And typically, if you look at ice that's been in an ice tray or come from an ice maker, the outside of that ice freezes first, and then as it gets to the center, that's the last part to freeze. And interestingly, as that ice is freezing, the impurities in that ice all move to the last spot to get frozen. So that's why the inside of ice cubes always look cloudy or have that haze to them. So one of the things you can do is you can take something like this, like a little ice cooler, and you can fill it full of warmer water. I think warmer works better just because it forces that differential more. And I usually leave the lid off when I do it. So, and then just place this whole thing in the freezer and let it freeze for 18 to 24 hours. And then what you're left with is this giant block of ice. Now, obviously, you'll have to let it come up to temperature a little bit before you attempt to remove it from the cooler. And you'll have to let it come up to temperature even further before you do what I'm about to talk about. But once you remove that block of ice or partial block of ice from that cooler, you'll find that either the unfrozen part is where the cloudier water went to, or if you let it freeze completely, the bottom is your cloudy ice and the top is clear ice. You don't have to remove it at 18 to 24 hours. You can let it keep going, but ideally you catch it before the very bottom has frozen, and then all of the impurities have gone there, and then it's just water you can let out. The problem is then, of course, you're left with this big block of clear ice. You have to let it warm up. And I know that sounds crazy, but ice that is very below freezing has some very interesting surface tension going on. And if you attempt to carve it, it usually tends to just shatter. So what I would do is I'd let that block of ice sit for a good 30, 40, maybe even 50 minutes, and then take a bread knife and a mallet, and I would carve it into blocks of ice. If you've got a lot of time on your hands and you want to be an ice artisan or artesian or whatever, but it's horribly time consuming and it was kind of a pain in the butt, so I did not do it that often. I kind of let that sit and didn't really pay much attention to it till cousins Sue and Mike said, hey, we've got this system we found called On the Rocks, and it sets you up to where it does most of the work for you. And that intrigued me so much that I was very curious, and Sue and Mike, out of the goodness of their hearts, actually gave me one of them to have, so I didn't have to purchase it, but it was a gift. But it works brilliantly. It works amazingly well, and even an idiot can do it. You don't have to have ice carving credentials or work with any sort of sculpture to make On the Rocks happen. So I'm gonna shift away from this, and I'm going to show you what that looks like and how you get it started. So stand by. So what I have in front of me is the On the Rocks system. It's an insulated thing, and this is the water reservoir. You can make cubes or you can make spheres, and obviously this is my own measuring cup here. I've already put some warm water in here, and this is more warm water. I usually put it in the microwave for about 4 minutes, so it's not like, it's definitely uncomfortable to the touch, but not boiling. And you want to fill it up. Let's see if I can do this without making a huge mess. You want to fill this up to where it's about an inch below the top. You don't want it all the way to the tippy top. That causes too many problems. I think that's probably okay. You can fine adjust it once you drop in the mold, and then you drop in the mold on the bottom first and let the water come up through the little holes in the mold. I think we could well, no, perfect. Yep, any more would be too much. So now I'm going to take the whole thing and put it into the insulator, and this whole contraption goes and lives in the freezer for at least 18 hours. So once it's done freezing and I'm ready to break this thing out, I will film that happening so you guys can see how that goes. I might have slightly overfilled this. If you can see, it's darn close to the top, but that's nothing that I can't salvage. All right, so that's in the freezer, and we will see what happens in about 24 hours. I'll see you guys then. So I just pulled this out of the freezer. As you can see, one of the cubes got extra tall, but This is about 19 hours later. When I pull it out of the insulator, I think there's actually just water underneath here. If you see that bubble, I don't know if you can see it, but I'm pretty sure that we've got mostly water and cubes. I might fast forward through the next bit because I'm gonna use a little warm water in the sink to try and loosen up the whole contraption. All right, so I definitely will fast forward through some of what I just did. So this is gonna be time lapse, and let me turn the camera just a little bit here. So I don't know if you can see, I got this giant block of ice on the bottom. But if you look inside, you can totally tell there is a giant water bubble. So I'm gonna come back to it again in just a second, probably a little bit more fast forwarding. All right, lastly, there is the blocks themselves. Now I usually, once I get them out of this mold, I put them into a Ziploc bag for future freezer. So let's see if we can get one out so you can see what you're looking at. So this one's a little cloudy at the bottom, but still pretty nice. That one came out super nice. Yep, same thing, super nice. All right, so there you have it. Some very nice clear ice cubes. I wouldn't use these for everyday ice, but for craft cocktails or craft high-end booze, something nice, good for parties or when you have your friends over. So guys, that's it. And like I said, that was 18, 19 hours. Wasn't that much work. It's a little bit meticulousness, but if you got any questions, let me know in the comments. You don't have to purchase this item. It's a little expensive, I understand that, but it makes things easy. Doing it my way, the old way, it works. It's just more time consuming. So if you got any questions, like I said, hit me up. Appreciate you guys watching. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, and I hope this has been entertaining to you. Check out my other cocktail series. I'll put some cards up in the corner, and you guys take care, stay safe.
Get him, Jay.